weird and wacky stuff. That's where we're headed today.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes, some weird ass training today is what we're going to be talking about. There's a weird.
I was just going to say specifically back and buys. Weirdest workout known to man. I'm kidding.
That's a weird ass split, man. Only
it's
bitches
like the most
run
common
that.
one.
like back and buys, chest and tries.
Literally the most common split ever created.
Yep. Back buys, chest and tries, and legs.
Gets a text from his workout buddy. Hey, I'm going to try a new program. Oh, yeah? What is it? Back by, chest, tries, legs.
Push, pull, split. Push, pull, legs. Then rest for 2 days.
That's crazy. No one's ever tried that before.
There's this YouTuber out who's now not really, people don't really like. His name is I think it's Vegan Bodybuilder or something like that. I forget, but he used to be bigger a few years ago before COVID, like 2018, 2019. And his way of training was so he's vegan, and that's like his whole thing is that he eats nothing but like soy, right? So like that's all he eats is soy and fucking tofu and all that. But his argument is because it takes 2 days for the body to recover. So like 48 hours, basically. What he does is he trains a total body workout every 2 days. So he'll do a total body rest, and that's how we've always trained.
And I'm like a professional bodybuilder or just famous?
No, he just had a YouTube channel that a lot of people subscribe to, and he's vegan. That's like his whole thing is that he's vegan, and that was his argument. And it's like, if you're using logic, then theoretically, that's not. Like, I can understand where he's coming from, but also that's not necessarily how it works. Yeah, there could be worse, idea, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just you can't stimulate every single muscle to the point of needing recovery if you're doing a total upper body or total body day. You don't have the energy for that typically, so it's just not going to work out.
What that kind of workout is promoting is just like general lifestyle, because you can stay fit. You can stay fit doing that. And especially if like on your rest day, you have some form of cardio in there, like you can definitely just do that to not bodybuilder type size maintain, but if you're just like a fit dude and you just want to maintain and not actually do anything, that I can see that working for that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of better training for something like lifestyle, but
I agree.
In this case, yeah, it's just like the logic I get where the logic is coming from, but it's not how the human body works. And on top of that, you'd have to, if you really were, let's say theoretically, you really were stimulating each muscle and damaging each muscle enough to have to recover over the next 48 hours, you'd have to eat a lot of food. You'd have to do nothing but rest because you just fucked your whole body. So just like theoretically, it doesn't work out.
That workout would have to be like 6 hours long.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like when I was doing 6-day splits, each day was like 45-ish minutes or so, 45, 50 minutes, not really much more than that. So it's like doing that, let's say that times 6. Well, all right, let's take out an arm day because I had 2 arm days. So that times 5, we'll say that times 5. We'll just say like 3 hours at minimum of just going at it, crushing it for 3 hours straight. And then doing that again every other day. Like it's not going to produce quality tissue. It's just not how it works. So that is one unorthodox way of doing it. But I could see, maintaining a bit. And if you just do like an hour workout, maybe 1 or 2 movements per muscle group or something. But at that point, I would say that upper body day, then a lower body day, and then a rest day would be better than like a total body, then rest, total body, then rest.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand it too, because he's not getting enough of proper protein and vitamins in his body because he's a fucking vegan. But
yeah,
it messes. Yeah, like whenever someone talks about vegans being like tapped or mental or anything like that, it's not the craziest argument in the world, because you're depriving your body of things that it should be eating. So
yeah, I could trash on veganism all day. vegetarian or pescatarian, a little different depending on the type of vegetarian you are. Pescatarian,
Pescatarian's legit.
yeah,
Pescatarian's legit.
I can get behind pescatarianism. That's fair. You just don't eat farm animals really. You just eat fish and eggs, which are very sustainable. That's fair. Totally fine. You don't drink milk, which is fine. I don't drink milk either, but you don't consume dairy, nothing like that. So I can get behind that. Vegetarianism, there's different levels to it, obviously. But vegan is just like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna draw the line there. And to me, I also kind of draw the line. So like I can respect people who run a carnivore diet, especially people who have autoimmune diseases and inflammation issues, because the carnivore diet is phenomenal for gastrointestinal inflammation issues. So your GI tract, by the way, guys, GI tract, gastrointestinal tract is essentially just your digestive system. It's just your intestines and all of that actually digests your food. So when you say your GI tract, you're talking about your digestive system, but specifically the inflammation that can happen during that is what I was referencing. Carnivore diet is great for inflammation in that aspect. So I can understand that, but I don't think I can ever condone raw carnivore, which is only eating raw meat ever. And I'm like, that's just dangerous. Got to cook your food.
Is there anyone in mind that you can think of that promotes that kind of I would call that maybe ancestral living? That's crazy.
The
I
9 ancestral
wonder where that
tenets were the
you need to
original
sun
idea
your
come from.
balls.
You gotta do like a upside down. You gotta lay on your back and point your ass to the sky to sun your balls.
Yeah, but that's hypertrophy based. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, it's all anabolic. You're not making gains unless you're sunning your balls. You just go to the
Yeah,
tanning bed.
exactly.
You go to the tanning place. You're just like, you have a ball machine. They're like, get the fuck out.
No, you go to PF for the first time to use their tanning thing, and the person's like trying to show you, and you're getting in with all your clothes, and they're like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like, oh yes, it is. Undoes the fly and just takes your balls out.
Just your zipper. You just pull your nuts out, and that's it. But yeah, it's just, anyways, that's just, I don't, even with the total upper body day, like or total day body day, even like you were saying, like even with veganism, like it's not gonna, like the veganism really does hold him back, not to mention the actual training style. So there was one, I think it was one of the Generation Irons. It was talking about the first ever pro Indian bodybuilder, and he was vegan, and he got like 16th or 17th or something at the Olympia or something. I forget. I want to say it was the Olympia now that we're talking about it, but the amount of food he had to eat to
I
keep
was
up
gonna
with the
say,
protein intake and shit. And on top of that, just like fucks his stomach because he has to eat so much like high fibered foods just to get the protein in and all that. So
it's a
he
lot of
was,
bark to eat.
yeah, a lot of just straight bark jerky, dried out bark with some pepper on it, peppercorn. But he was never gonna. I don't think he was ever gonna place well at that level. Pro, I can understand, but not at the top level because the diet just doesn't promote it. You need more protein.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I can't even think of like medical reasons why someone would need to do that. So
yeah, there's not. I mean, unless you're allergic to certain meats, but for vegan diet to be involved in professional bodybuilding just doesn't really have a place. It's like how to explain it? I don't even there's no like it wouldn't condone it at all. Like there
what
you don't.
what I can see it being is someone taking it as a challenge. Like I forgot who it was. It wasn't Kai. It was some person, some big bodybuilder is going on an all watermelon diet, which is terrible. Absolutely
Oh, is that
terrible.
isn't that fucking what's it called? The guy who has the hi-fi mud or whatever the fuck it's called. Cali Muscle. Isn't it Cali Muscle that's doing that?
I think that's it. Yeah. But my point being is like that's clearly him just doing that, trying to like do it as like a challenge. Like obviously that's terrible for your like gains and whatever, because watermelon has nothing but natural sugars and like a little bit of you know little bit of carb, if anything, but even that's pulling at strings. So it's done for a challenge. So like I can see someone going like, all right, I want to be a pro bodybuilder in 5 years on all vegan. Like I can see that as being a challenge. You'd have to be tapped because I mean, who's going to do that as a challenge? But
Yeah.
I can see that being, just something someone does.
Yeah, I mean, I there are people who go through, 1 month or 2 months challenges or something who are in the pro world. And that's a lot of that is because of, whether that's getting to a healthier place or cleaning out, something like that, detoxing along those lines. Because in the grand scheme of things, if you're doing like a month thing to clean out or get healthy, it's not going to be that detrimental to the overall plan if that's part of it. So like, like December or whenever it is, I'll be done my PCT. If I was just like, you know what, I'm going to try to like go a little vegetarian or something, like only have eggs as like my meat and then everything else is vegetables. I could theoretically do that. I'm not training super hard. I'm not bulking. I'm not cutting. I'm just kind of maintaining and just trying to focus on just physical health for a little while. Like that could be doable. But then the second you get into an actual plan and the second I would theoretically get back onto anabolics would be the second I'd cut out that challenge, for instance, right? So that just wouldn't, yeah, just watermelon only, you're just asking to get hurt at that point. There are plenty of people who've gone on like hunger strikes and shit, not in the bodybuilding world, but in general, and they get hurt. So doing something like watermelon, you have to eat so much of it, like you're gonna fuck your whole digestive system just eating all that food.
Yeah.
Watermelon, there's no substance really. It's watermelon for a reason. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
We'll see how that goes.
did you know that when you take like an anabolic and it's like in pill form, if you chew the pill, that's actually all the food you need for the day. So
Yeah, that's it. That's it. When you're prep, it's just you just drink and eat your anabolics. That's it. Keeps you full. Winstrol just tastes delicious, delicioso.
Meal one, a single D ball.
Yeah, one D ball, one every 5.5 minutes. I have one D ball. It keeps me tied over, and then just water with salt, salty water.
Absolutely, absolutely vascular to the cheek, but
Sometimes I
nothing
mix
else.
it up with some pepper and some mustard in my water. Get a little
A little bit
flavor.
a little bit of hot sauce.
Just straight jalapeno seeds. You just like chew them to have
You
something.
no. You find just I know it doesn't work like this, but sodium as a compound, and I just have 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Oh, what food? No, I just had 1,000 milligrams of
Just
sodium. That's
just 1 gram of straight sodium molecules.
it.
You can't even see it. It's that
Yeah.
it's that refined. What was I gonna say after that? Shit. It's gonna add something to it. Oh, I was gonna say that mustard and pepper joke I made is like shit you'll think about pretty much in prep. Like that's shit you will think about. How can I make this taste better? And it's just like plain chicken. Like I've tried some whack shit, dude. Like
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, pickles, of course, pickles all the time. Use pickles, pickles,
Mm.
pickles whenever you can in prep. But some of the more like mix like putting Italian like herb seasoning on eggs. It doesn't really add a lot, but it's nice. And then like if you cook your asparagus on a pan, like what I would do is I'd cook asparagus on a pan, right? And I wouldn't really clean it that much. I just kind of wipe it. So like this little pan would get like asparagus seasoning like over time. So like my asparagus had stronger flavor every single time I cooked. So like it tasted different every time. So like that's something that I did as well. It's just you got some weird ass fucking concoctions. But I mean mustard and coffee was like heaven. Like if I could have flavored coffee during prep, like before we cut out the artificial flavors, and now I know better. Now I know the brands that have naturally flavored coffees. Death Wish is one of them, so I can get like their chocolate hazelnut or whatever, their blueberry coffee, the naturally flavored. But the unnatural flavors was like heaven. Like I was like, oh, it just made my day
Yeah.
every time I had it.
Well, there's
But
there's a guy who got drafted into the NFL this year, and he puts mayonnaise in his coffee.
see, I can understand that.
God, no.
See, so like
No.
I want to say isn't it Spanish countries that put cheese in their hot chocolate? I think. I want
Oh,
to
I
say
didn't
it's
know that.
hot chocolate. Yeah, I want to say it's hot chocolate. I think I've said coffee in the past, but I'm pretty sure it's hot chocolate. It gives a creaminess to it. It's not. So like I can understand the mayonnaise. It probably gives it a creaminess. It's like when you make grilled cheese, you don't put butter on the bread. You put mayonnaise on the bread when you're cooking it, like on a griddle or something.
Yeah.
So like you're not giving it necessarily a mayonnaise flavor. It's for the creaminess. It's for the moisture. So I think maybe that's along the lines, unless he's just putting like a glob of it. He's just like, I just love mayonnaise, but I don't want anybody to see me drinking mayonnaise. Is he like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lineman or
he's
something?
everyone thought that the mayonnaise was a weird thing, but to him, coffee is the weird thing.
Yeah, he's like, I like to have a little bit of coffee with my mayonnaise, not my mayonnaise with my coffee. Is he like a large dude? Is he like?
No, he's a quarterback. He's he's just athletic, that's all.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. I like mayonnaise, but not putting it in my coffee. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But to further talk about like unorthodox like training methods caught in 4K to get more into that. What are some more? I mean, CrossFit, of course.
Yeah.
CrossFit's a
Well,
joke.
I guess we'll start with this conversation started with us discussing what topics to do for the podcast this week, and I know a guy, not new, he's still alive. I know a guy who does legs and arms in the same lift every week. That's his leg and arm day. And like to me, I divert so much into my leg day that I don't even think I could do other things in my leg day. But again, to each their own. And so it just kind of started a conversation of like, what are some of the weirdest, most unorthodox training like methods that we've seen, or even like just exercises that are weird. Because like to me, thinking about a leg arm day is like, all right, you're gonna walk out with the gnarliest pump known to man. Like that's the kind of workout where you go and you propose right after because you're just fully jacked up.
You could just call it a limb day because you're
Yeah,
just hitting the
limb
limbs.
day.
Yeah, what's your day to day? Limbs. Not torso, limbs.
Yeah, lower torso is my workout today.
What's your split like? Oh, I got torso limb split. So I got a torso day, a limb day, and then a rest day.
I have a neck day.
I was about to say on my rest day, I trim my neck. I was literally about to say that.
The plate loaded headgear where you're just nodding the whole time when you train your neck.
You got like the cable machine hooked up, or you're just like doing this shit, pulling it to the side.
My buddy, my old training partner used to do neck workouts where he would lie down on a bench and like lie down so his head is off the back of the bench, and he'd just hold a plate on his head and just incline with his head back and forth to train his neck, and he'd do it from the side and stuff like that. Real weird to see in the gym.
It is weird, but there is certain sports that actually require it. I want to say football is one of them. You're supposed to train your neck for football, I think.
I can see rugby being one.
Potentially. I'm not sure about rugby, but the number one sport that requires it is racing. Especially when you're getting into like F1. Yeah, like all the F1 racers have super strong necks because of the G-forces of the cars. It's like on average, like in a hairpin corner, I forget what the measurement was, what kind of corner it was or whatever. Their head, because of the like, it was like 2 or 3 G-forces because of that, their head weighed an extra like 50 to 60 pounds. So they had to like fight that, you know, when
Because
they're
their body is
cornering.
strapped in, but their head isn't, right?
Correct. And then they got their
Okay.
helmet on and all of that. And when they're braking, the braking G-force is extremely strong on those cars. So like
Yeah.
if you look up a video, there are tandem F1 design cars or style cars where there's a driver in the front who takes people in the back seat basically, which has very similar downforce and speed to an F1 car. And the second he touches the brakes, people's heads will just smack into the front seat and just stay there because the G-forces are so strong, they can't keep their head up. So they
Yeah.
just, and they come back up. And then when they're cornering, they're like this because they can't keep their head up. Their neck is just staying attached. That's all it is.
You know how when you go into like a deep squat for your PR and you're like shouting, you're like, ah, you're trying to get the thing up. You just have your head flat against the seat going, just
Yeah, you
trying
just
to push your head
try to
back.
push your head back up. Yeah. So like something like that.
PR,
There's
3G force.
3.5 G-force. Let's go. There's a video of recently actually that went viral in the F1 community. Landau Norris, who races for McLaren. I'm a big F1 fan, by the way, everybody listening.
No, couldn't tell.
Landau Norris, which is my favorite racer, actually. I love Landau, but he streams racing games and stuff. And somebody was like, how do you keep your head up when you're racing? And he just goes, and his like neck is bigger than his fucking head, and he's just like neck. That's all he says, neck. It was wild. You got to look it up. It's like his like neck muscles come out almost over his Adam's apple. But then when he's like sitting normally, it looks normal. But then once he flexes it, it's like neck. So yeah, so they need that. So you got to train your neck, and some of the neck machinery just looks really, really weird. There are neck machines where like you put your face in it and you like push forward with your head, and you could like change the weight on it and everything, just like any other machine. It's weird looking. So that's something that could be a little unorthodox if you see it in person.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that video now.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably just look up like Landau Norris neck. Maybe.
Landau?
Lando. Yeah, Landau Norris neck. The first video that pops up says huge neck. Yeah, how do I prepare for G-force? He just shows his neck. He goes, huge neck.
Neck.
He just got a big neck. But yeah, they train a lot their neck. They have these like head straps basically that they put around their head, and they fight other people pulling it and fight machinery and cables and all of that. And because they need to fight it back and they need to fight it left and right for the cornering. Not necessarily forward, but
imagine you going to like a commercial gym and they don't have the specific kind of neck workout or neck machinery. So the person buys like the cable attachment for it and just takes like one of the cable crosses, sets it to the right height, puts it on, and you just see him like
takes like one of those like wrist wraps, you know, like that you do for like side lateral raises, and just like wraps around his head or something. Makes there some like duct tape, like weird contraption. Then there's also for F1 drivers too, because they don't have oh my gosh, steering assist, you know, like they don't have whatever it's called. I'm drawing a blank on what it's called.
power steering.
Power steering. God, why could I not think of that? So because they don't have power steering and the wheels are so thick with the contact patch and surface area, it's extremely hard to turn the wheel in an F1 car, especially when you're going slow. So they have these giant machines that have been made just for F1 drivers to train on, and they'll have like their wheel attached to it basically, and they just keep increasing the weight and they just turn it as hard as they can, and do like each side a number of reps in order to build up their forearms and, you know, their shoulders and their back. Cause like they're using like every muscle in their body to turn these cars, because they need to get to the point where they can race for like 2 hours essentially straight almost without getting fatigued, because they need to focus on racing, not how fatigued their forearms are, you know?
Yeah.
So like it's almost like
distracted.
Yeah. It's like training for a marathon. Like you need to train to run longer than a marathon so that you can focus on winning the marathon, you know?
Exactly.
So That's what it is for them. They need to train it so that they're way further ahead. So like that's weird to see because they're strapped into a chair and they're just like forcing this wheel to turn. So like that's another weird one to see videos of as far as, unorthodox, but it just depends on the usage really at the end of the day for them. But to loop it back, some more weird splits that I've seen is like chest and quads. I've seen that. They'll call it front day. Legit. Like they'll call it front day.
That's real.
And then they'll have back, glute, and hams. They'll call it back day, like rear day.
Hey, I'm hitting back today. Oh, can I hop in? Shit, why are we doing hamstrings?
I meant like the back of my body, what you see from behind.
The most gym bro type comment I could ever imagine.
What you see from behind is back day.
Calves.
Do you got any steroids? And then they'll probably do like an arm day, like arm and delt day or something after that. But that's some more unorthodox stuff. I mean, even like Arnold's, like we are mentioning earlier, like Arnold's just kind of weird because there's like chest and back,
I did that for a little bit.
Yeah, he would superset interior muscles. So he'd do like, like incline. There's a video of him doing incline press, immediately getting up and going and doing lat pull downs.
Yep.
Which theoretically, again, logically makes sense. Because it's like while your chest is resting, because you're not working at all during lat pull downs, you could be working your back and then vice versa. But they're two such large muscle groups. It's just they're kind of fighting each other over who's going to get the recovery. Granted, it worked for Arnold, but still.
Yeah, and it's the whole like, shock the muscle mentality where it's like, your body's like, all right, we're training chest today. We're going to do incline and regular bench press and all sorts of stuff. Oh my God, it's a lateral raise.
It's like you ever see those videos where like the guy will sit down on the bench and be like, you got to shock the muscle, and he go to like lift up the bar, then all of a sudden he does like leg extensions with the end attachment. There's another video that went viral like a month ago, and this guy was like riding a scooter or motorcycle or something, and goes around the corner and falls. He like low sides and like rolls a little bit, and then he's like on his stomach, and then all of a sudden he starts doing push-ups. It's like you got to shock the muscle. You got to shock it.
I did that a while back when I was training at PF, so like 2 years ago at this point, something like that, maybe 3.
Quite a few,
where I'm in a Smith machine and to everyone it looks like I'm going to be doing decline press, and all of a sudden I just start doing like pull-ups towards the bar.
That's awesome.
It's like one of my only TikToks I've ever made.
That's so funny. Yeah, you could have put like the Ziz music over it.
Well, mine is the bam 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 bam. If I don't know. That's
I gotta watch it. I'd have to see it. I gotta see that clip of yours. Some
gotta
more
shock the muscle.
Yeah, I love those.
I do
I love
ankles with wrists. That's my workout split.
I train joint day.
Joint day, yeah. Yeah, I mean, really though, we do make fun of a lot of stuff, but like what we talked about, like with Arnold, obviously it worked wildly well for him. So it's like make fun of it, but at the same time, if you're curious, give it a try. Like not the joking ones. Like obviously, there's not a joint day, but like front day, back day, like back of the body. Like give it a try. You never know.
Also, I wanted to mention with the joint day thing, for those of you that train your rotator cuffs or warm them up, fucking stop, please. You're fucking killing me doing that shit in the gym. I saw this dude yesterday. He was training like hypertrophy. He kept increasing the weight on the cable machine for his rotator cuffs. I'm like, dude, stop. You're just hurting your shoulders. And that's me. That's coming from me who has bad rotator cuffs because of motorcycle accidents and training stupid when I was new in the gym. Warm ups on your rotator cuffs are not going to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's the only, like actually training them, like if you're like, baseball or quarterback in football and you actually need that, like that, like legitimately training them is different, but actually just warming up with them. Yeah. Stupid.
Well, there's nothing really necessarily to train. The rotator cuff is a joint. So when you're doing shit like this,
it's more the muscles surrounding it. That's more so my
yes,
point.
yeah. So you could train the muscles around them. Like the best way to make your rotator cuff feel better if you have a bad rotator cuff is to train your delts and your
Yeah.
rhomboids and your chest. Like that's the best way to make your rotator cuff feel better. So just stop with the warm ups on them doing this shit or doing like, this shit. If you're watching the video, like, just stop with the cable, stop with the dumbbells. It's not going to do anything. It's like training your wrist. You can't like train a joint. That doesn't work that way. Training your knees, like you have like a knee day. you just like, what would even a knee day look like? Like, how would you even train that? You just like,
when you go to the doctors and they test your reflexes with the hammer, I take a 5-pound dumbbell and I just bash my knee with it.
No sensitivity for me. You could do like, what are those like grip squeezer things? You can put that in your leg and just like squeeze the fuck out of it. And just like,
I feel like that would be a hamstring movement at that point. If you talk about the inside of your knee, like behind,
yeah,
if you could,
no, you got
that's
a point,
literally that's just a leg curl. That's literally just a leg curl.
I'm just trying to think, like, how could you train your knee? I don't know.
I specifically train leg press, but I put elastics that cut off the circulation so that all of my pressure is on my knee, and I just press from the knee.
I do squats with my knees touching. Or like, what's the other one I was gonna say? I'm trying to think. Like, I do leg extensions, but I hold onto my kneecap and don't let it move. It's double jointed, so it don't move. And when I do leg extensions, it's all on my knees. But
get into some kind of a machine where you have a leg extension, and then on the reverse, it goes deep enough that you're now doing a hamstring curl, and you just keep flipping it back and forth.
Just like super fast knees all day, shock the muscles. So stop with the rotator cuff shit. Then to mention what I was mentioning earlier was CrossFit. CrossFit is very not conducive typically. So
yeah, we've shit on CrossFit so much, so this should not be new to you guys.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, at least the history of CrossFit, it was invented in 2000 by a guy named Greg Glassman. So Greg Glassman was based out of California. I forget exactly what city. Santa Cruz, actually. Okay, so CrossFit is a brand, right? CrossFit's a brand. It's not like, it's like Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand. So people say, oh, can I have a Kleenex when they're talking about tissue, or like a Ziploc bag. Ziploc is a brand when you're talking about like a resealable plastic bag. So CrossFit is a brand. It's not necessarily a style of training. It's a brand.
Yeah.
So CrossFit was invented by Greg Glassman. The company was created by him. The reason he created it, believe it or not, was actually because his gym was failing and he needed something to make it stand out. He needed some sort of, new interest from the public in order to make it different. So he invented this training style called CrossFit, which has obviously been extremely successful, which, on a business standpoint, good for him. But the training style itself is all about it's
doing
like a combination
exercises wrong.
Yeah, basically, like using momentum any way you can. It's about like how long can you train for with high interval training combined with like Olympic weightlifting, combined with like running and cycling and shit. It's like, let's combine everything together for no reason and then also do it wrong is like the idea. Yeah. It's like kind of what CrossFit is in a sense. You can essentially kind of make gains on CrossFit because CrossFit's a brand and like each gym will vary. So I'm sure there are good CrossFit gyms out there that teach you how to train properly and teach you how to do pull-ups right and all of that. But then there are like the bigger like CrossFit gyms where they will have you do kipping pull-ups and all these fucking weird interval training, like kipping pull-ups and then fucking wheel tosses. And then they go have you do like the 1800s carriage rope fucking waving thing that you can do. and then, pushing a sled and then going back and doing kipping pull-ups and shit. So that's a very unorthodox way to essentially train. It's not, people get injured all the time doing CrossFit. People get injured all the time doing other things like powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, stuff like that. But CrossFit, people get injured not because they lifted too hard or something like that. It's because it's a very bad way of training. It's not built for the human body.
It's like when people get injured doing Olympic lifting or doing just, regular bodybuilding or anything like that, it's normally because we ego lift and we go for a little bit more than we should. And then if we didn't bring a spot, or even if we have a spot, we fight them off and we're like trying to get that last rep. And that's when we get injured. But with CrossFit, you intentionally put yourself in a situation where your body is far more likely to get injured because like you brought up, like the kipping pull-up. If anybody doesn't know what that is, look what it is. It's like your body's like flailing in the air and your hands are the only thing attached to the bar. And I mean, that your hands are the only thing attached anyways. But I mean, more so like when you do a normal pull-up, you're very stabilized and you go with only the your back that you're pulling from. Whereas with the Kipling one, it's like you're just fucking thrashing around. It looks like a seal. No, not a seal out of water.
Like a dolphin or something.
Yeah, something out of. Think of any marine animal that shouldn't be out of water. Fish out of water. Jesus, there's the reference I was looking for. But and that's like that. Not at all, safe for your body or naturally safe for your body. So like, because if you let go, or accidentally let go of the bar when your body's momentum is going forward, you're just flipping around and landing on your spine or on your neck. So
yeah, it's bad. So the reason for kipping pull-ups, they like flail, they basically like flex their knees up so that when they do the pull-up, it's using the least amount of energy possible. So the idea is to be able to get as many pull-ups as possible. And what they consider a pull-up is anytime your chin is above the bar. So a kipping pull-up, you use momentum in order to get your chin above the bar and do as many reps as possible. So kipping pull-ups are really just kind of the joke now, as far as the fitness industry goes, and really just training in general. It's what CrossFit's kind of known for now, is kipping pull-ups. It's KIPPING, kipping pull-ups. So that's, a problem there. But then, they got all these other training methods, like using all different kinds of kettlebell shit, which kettlebells have their use, but they really overuse them, I think, personally. The kettlebell swings can be good, but when you're doing really anything else kettlebell, it's very seldom that's actually good. I think dumbbells, for the most part, can replace kettlebells in most situations.
The only movement I've used a kettlebell that is legit is there's a shoulder movement called a pirate toss, which is it's basically like if you think about a ship, like old ship, and you have to get water out and you're just bucketing the water out. It simulates that with the kettlebell, and because the handle is, you're able to grip that, and you don't have like a dumbbell, you have the two sides. So like hypothetically you could, but with the kettlebell you can kind of get that motion. Mm-hmm. That's the one exercise that I allow myself. I haven't done it in a while, but it's the one exercise I allow myself to use a kettlebell. But it also has that the forearm challenge. You ever see that? Where you put the kettlebell flat down and you just try and flip it over, and then Brian Shaw did it and just flipped like the heaviest fucking one.
Yeah, there's people forget how strong those motherfuckers are until they step up to whatever challenge it is, and it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, like I'll never be not be astounded by those guys. But yeah, kettlebells, they have their place, they have their uses. It's just, I think CrossFit just kind of overuses them. Like, I think kettlebell swings, sometimes something like lunges or squats can be beneficial, but the problem with kettlebells too is that with the heavier they get, the thicker the grip is going to be. So you can't like really go super heavy on the weight without having to fatigue your forearms at a certain point, where like dumbbells, the thickness of like the actual metal grip on a 200-pound dumbbell is very similar to a 100-pound dumbbell. It's not that much different, if at all. there is thickness differences in order to be able to support the weight of the actual dumbbell on the edges. But for the most part, you don't really need to train grip much more in order to lift that weight besides just lifting it. Where with the kettlebell, like if you've seen like 100-pound kettlebells, it's fucking thick. Like you can't get your hand around that fucking grip. So like that's a problem, in my opinion. As far as like I understand that it's because it needs to be able to support the weight, but it's like that's one of the downfalls of the design of a kettlebell is you need to have that thicker grip. So that can be a problem sometimes too. But at the end of the day, I think that there are much, much better options than CrossFit for training. There are a lot of group fitness classes, group training classes. My coach runs one. He runs essentially like a fitness company kind of that they host these kind of like events, right? Where they not really an event, but like these like training classes like jujitsu and stuff like that. And they'll do like training classes, and I've seen videos of it, and they'll do interval training, but they're using proper form. They'll do like push-ups, and then they'll go do pull-ups, and then go do like curls, and then they'll do like a crunch, like an ab crunch, and then go back around, And interval training does have a place. I have done interval training in the past, like tried it out, not for gains or anything. It's just like, I just want to try it out one day. And it is very difficult. Interval training is very difficult. It's very hard. And I can understand that there are performance benefits to it. It's just a combination of the movements that CrossFit does, plus the interval training, plus the damage that it does to your body and its joints and all of that. It just is not very conducive for aesthetics. It's not conducive for strength. People argue performance over the long period of time. Potentially athletic performance as far as actually training in CrossFit. So what's weird about it with CrossFit is that one of the things that I've come to notice over time is that so when you're talking about bodybuilding in general, Stoff, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about here. This will be a light bulb for you. When you're training bodybuilding itself, not powerlifting, not Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding, the training style is very adaptable. It works with pretty much anything else. There's a lot of bodybuilding coaches. Charles Glass is one of them who will train professional NFL athletes, NBA athletes, stuff like that, because it translates. Yes, we're focusing on aesthetics, but at the end of the day, it also increases performance. It increases your ability to have more stamina, more endurance. It increases your ability to manipulate your body more. So it translates much better. So when you're talking about even like powerlifting and like a little bit of Olympic weightlifting, that kind of plays into like NFL players, for instance, right? So, especially the linemen, stuff like that, who need to be able to push a lot more weight, they'll have those kind of training methods. The thing with CrossFit that's very weird to me is that you can't really use CrossFit to train for something else. When you're talking about like training CrossFit and you want to become better at CrossFit, it's to compete in CrossFit. It's not to compete in something else. So you're talking about like, there's like these giant, like there's like videos of like these gigantic women who have like crazy abs and their fucking legs are massive going to compete in CrossFit. And it's like, that's what they've been training for. Like they're not proportionate by any means. Their body is built only for CrossFit. If they were to do something like a training session with a bodybuilder, they would be exhausted because the training style is very different. Just like me doing CrossFit, I would be exhausted doing CrossFit just because my training style is different. But the thing is with bodybuilding and with general fitness and training like a bodybuilder, it's very translatable. It's very adaptable, where CrossFit is only for CrossFit.
Yeah.
Which is annoying. So, and then it's also funny to me that people think that CrossFit's a spectator sport. Like the Reebok CrossFit games. I'm like, who the fuck is watching this? Why is this? This is not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening?
On the reverse side, what is a 100% a spectator sport that people give crap on is the strongman stuff. That is 100% spectator, because once those athletes get the adrenaline from the crowd and everything, like it's just like twofold the amount they can bring in terms of strength. Like the Shaw Classic, they have some of the weirdest lifts that you do there. Like, have you seen Shaw posted a lot about it when it was in early stages of development and production was the keg
Yeah, the
chest.
keg pressed,
Yeah,
the
keg
keg
press.
press thing or whatever that he was building. I was
Yeah,
like, I saw that. I was like, what the fuck is this for? And then it said they're
yeah.
building it for Brian Shaw. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Well,
They
but
checked out.
they did it at the Shaw Classic. It was one of the actual
Yeah.
movements that you had to do to compete. Like, unlike like he was building one. How do you train for that other than having one? You know?
I mean, it's just bench press, but it's increasing weight over time. What's funny is that when I saw that being built, right, they were dropping the kegs in. I don't know if you remember this, but there's a guy who's showing how it worked, right? And they would drop the kegs in from up top.
Yeah,
And for those that don't know, there's almost like an S pattern to it. It's like this machine where it's a standing bench press machine. There's an S pattern metal contraption behind, so where they can drop kegs down into the machine. So there's like a ladder, like a platform that this guy's standing on, and drops kegs, like beer kegs, but like empty kegs, down into the machine so that it increases weight over the time. So it's almost like adding a plate kind of to it, but it's more entertaining because it's a giant machine and it's these kegs and whatnot. But this guy who's testing it, who like worked for the company, is like, I don't know if he's a strongman competitor or powerlifter or whatever. You know, he was doing a rep per keg and he got like 4 or 5 kegs in and he was failing. Brian stacked the machine all the way up and was doing it for
yeah,
reps. I'm like, this is why, I mean, that's another argument why it's a spectator sport, because it's like you don't truly understand how strong these guys are until you see them compared to other people. And we've talked about it
yeah,
before, but I didn't truly grasp how strong these motherfuckers were until that video of Eddie Hall in that machine, the chest press machine. That's when I truly grasped it, because he did the one arm press and was smiling and laughing while he did it. I'm like,
yeah.
that's fucking dumb. Like
Well,
that's
another thing too with that is that Eddie and Brian post so much content together and so little content with regular people that you
yes.
think that they are just two dudes who look normal, but
Yep.
Brian is 6'9" or something like that, and Eddie is
Yep.
6'6" or something like that. And
I
like,
think
sir,
he's 6'4", 6'5", but that's actually a
yeah,
problem for him. He's short compared to other strongmen, but he's tall as
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
So
exactly. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
yeah, you forget how big those motherfuckers are until like it's like Deshaun Clarita versus Brian Shaw when he gave him the trophy. Like
Yeah.
that went so viral because you don't realize how big strongman. Like you have to bodybuilding for the most part. Like you, no matter what height, essentially you can get into it, right? Like Sean Clarita is the giant killer. He's like 5'4" or something like that. So like there's not many heights that you can't really compete in bodybuilding. Like Stoff being 6'4", you would have more difficulty competing because you have so much more height. But
Yeah.
you can't like not competing it. You know, like it's
Yeah.
not because your height that's holding you back. Strongman, you have to be like minimum 6'5" in order to even think about competing, because these guys have to be so fucking massive and put on all this muscle and size to even do the fucking training. So
Which is
like
why Eddie
that's
just broke the rules because he, for what, like 3 years was the strongest man? Like,
yeah, and he also talked about it in his in the documentary. I forget if it was his documentary or like a strongman documentary. I forget what it was. I think it was just about strongman in general. He talked about how being 6'5", he actually can't do it as long as the other guys because he has to eat the same way, have the same muscle and all of that. But because of that, he's way more unhealthy because he's putting so much, the same amount of size on a smaller frame. So
yeah,
he had to call it early. Like he had to retire way sooner than everybody else did because of his height. And it's just how it goes. You know, it's just, that's what he had to work with. But because of that, I think that's also part of the reason why he got the official world record deadlift, was because he was a little bit shorter than like Hafthor Bjornsson, for instance, where he had a shorter range of motion compared to Hafthor. But if you take Hafthor, who's like 6'9", 6'10", drop him 5 inches, I'd have my money on Hafthor beating Eddie in a deadlift all day. But
yeah,
it just doesn't work that way. It's not how human body works. So but yeah, so it is very weird to see them train that way. Like they got the hay bale,
yep.
hay bale walk or whatever. Like that's just weird. And then they got like they got the I forget what they
Sandbag
call it.
tosses.
Well, there's that. That's kind of unorthodox too. And then they got the kegs that they toss over the giant like bar. But there's also the oak thing, the log that they like get open over their head. Like
Yep.
that shit is so fucking heavy. There's one
Well,
at Vanarchy that you can train with. At least
well,
they used to have one.
Bjorn did the true Viking challenge. Did you ever see that one? There's a Viking challenge where he had to carry, and it was only for 6 steps, and it was like a full fucking tree. It was like
Mm.
I forget how heavy it weighed out to be, but it was like a entire tree.
Was it
And
like a part of those like Irish?
I forget what it was, but the like in myth it was like 6 steps, and he did 6 steps or 5 steps or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Was it part of the Highland Games? Do you know? Because I want to say
Might have
he
been.
did something with them recently, like the Highland Games athletes, because the Highland Games, which takes place in I think Ireland, is kind of like a strongman competition, but it's its own thing. It is a strength competition. It's the oldest strength competition, but it's a separate organization from the strongman competition. So I think I don't know if it was Halfthor or maybe Eddie. Somebody went to one of the like he did a collaboration with one of the Highland Games guys, and they did the log toss. And I think he just fucking whoever it was that was a strongman, whether it was Eddie Halfthor, just demolished the guy who competed in the Highland Games. Like fucking
Yeah.
not even close. Just first try, just launched it. So it could have been something like that potentially, like one of their like things that they compete in or something, like one of the strengths that they do or one of the lifts that they do, but I'm not sure. It's wild though. Highland Games is also pretty wild.
And a while back you mentioned the MMA guys. There's a guy it's a Russian name. I'm never going to be able to pronounce it, but his name is the Wolf, and he did he posted a video of what his cold training looks like. And
Mm.
as a person who does cold plunges, I thought I was good, but he's in like the middle of fucking Serbia where he lives, and or wherever it is. I say Serbia because that's where I think of the most
Kamzat Chimaev.
that one. And he
Yeah.
hops in a ice river, like one that's flowing straight off a mountain. He hops in that, and then to warm up, he goes into the snowbank. Like I like that is and he covers himself in snow, and that is how he warms up. Like that is like you're just like so different if you're doing that.
So here's the other thing though with snow that people don't realize is that snow is a natural insulator. So animals that live in snow environments have very thick coats, not to keep the heat in. It's so that snow can attach. Like huskies, if you've ever seen videos of huskies out in the snow, they lay in the snow and they let themselves get covered in snow when it's snowing out, and it's very warm. It actually warms you up. That's how igloos work, right? Because like even though you're
Yeah.
surrounded by snow and ice, it's warm as hell in there because it's a natural insulator. So that's probably like there's probably some science behind him doing that and making it, a natural insulator to warm him up after the cold plunge. But I want to
But it's
say,
also he's in that river for like half the video too. It's wild.
yeah, he's in it for a while. Yeah, that's wild. You got to train for shit like that. But yeah, there's some unorthodox shit out there. Cold plungers there's a lot of science behind it. Saunas, yes, but only to a certain extent. Saunas can be kind of useless a lot of the time for
The
recovery.
best the best usage is going 15 minutes of I think it's like 180 in the sauna, then 3 to 5 minutes of 40 something degree cold plunge, and then back in the sauna for 5 minutes. That is
Yeah,
the best combo you can do right there.
which it manipulates your body's temperature so that your body has to work differently to do that. It's like cold plunge, like taking a cold shower. Part of the reason you get like an endorphin rush or dopamine hit is because when you come out, your body almost kind of like goes into a fight or flight and then you survive it essentially. And when you come out, you're also warmer. Like you could come out of like a cold plunge in the winter, for instance, and you'll feel warm because your body has downregulated its temperature. I mean, you know all this stuff. I'm just saying, downregulated its temperature so far that it's now overproducing heat. So you end up being warm outside the cold plunge, no matter the temperature. So it's a very interesting dynamic that your body has with its body temperature, which we have talked about before, which is
And
thermal regulation and all of that.
we'll be able to do a pretty darn good episode on that come this December or so, because in November I'm moving into a lake house, and so in the winter when it freezes over, I'm going to drill a hole and do my cold plunge and be warmer when I get out of it.
You're gonna do it in the lake?
Yeah, every
Oh, that's gonna
morning.
be rough.
Every morning, I love it. I'm so ready.
I just want a freezer. I just want a freezer with ice or water, and then just break the ice up.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get eventually. Just fill it with water and just break up the ice.
And then have a whole pig delivered to your house like Jay Cutler.
Dude, if I could afford that, absolutely. Are you shitting me? I mean, not pigs necessarily, but a cow or something. I do want to go hunting. I do want to learn how to hunt. Once I have some land, I do want to learn how to hunt and hunt venison and shit. Have plenty of venison. I want to have a whole meat fridge, and I also want a dry ager. I want a dry aging fridge too. I would love one, and a smoker and all of that. I want to really get into meat one day, but that's down the road. I'm in an apartment. They don't even like fucking grills, let alone the rest of that shit. So I'll dive into that then. But there's a video to kind of loop it back to what I was saying about the raw carnivore diet. There's this video of this guy eating like straight like liver, straight like cow's liver and straight beef and all of that. Oh, I did see this video last night where it showed the differences between a placenta of a vegetarian or vegan and then a placenta of someone who eats healthy, right? And the placenta is what goes around them, is what protects the baby. Essentially, it's what the baby's inside of in your womb. And I want to say when they give birth, the placenta comes out, I believe. So it's not like, these two people are dead. It's just the placentas were essentially donated to the hospital or something like that. And some people eat the placentas, which makes me want to throw the fuck up thinking about. But anyways, there's vegans, there's a vegan one and there's a meat eater one. And at first glance, you think, oh, the meat eater one looks terrible. It's like a super deep red, like almost like dark red, and like almost looks unhealthy. But then when the doctor's talking about it, it's way more healthy. It's way thicker. There's much better blood to flow throughout. The color shows that it's much more healthy. Like there's not as much oxidation. There's also this, I think it's calcification or something is what she said the other placenta was doing. The vegetarian one was. So it's like almost like hard and brittle and doesn't have much fat to it. It's not very healthy. So it's like she goes to show, she's like, when you're like, regardless how you want to live your life on your own terms, if you're pregnant, in my opinion, you need to focus on the health of the baby, regardless of your opinions of things. So if meat is what's healthier for the baby, then eat fucking meat. Fuck your morals, fuck your ethics, all of that. It's not about you anymore. It's about the baby. And if the baby needs meat and the baby wants whatever, you're craving a certain thing, give into it. It's fine. They need that. So like showing the differences between a vegetarian birth placenta and a meat eater, like not even necessarily like a carnivore, it's just like a healthy diet with meat. You can clearly see the difference. So these, ways of eating, veganism is not a way to eat. We're not supposed to be eating that way. And that just right there, that goes to show it. And I'm also a big advocate of, still exercising when you're pregnant, taking plenty of magnesium, glycinate, stuff like that. It's going to help a lot more with the healthiness of your overall body and the baby's body as well. So just this whole diet fucking bullshit about veganism and whatnot. And it's died down over the years. Now it's almost like we're going in the other direction where eating unhealthy is becoming the norm, with all these like plus size models and shit, where like being big and being morbidly obese is like, look okay. Literally, like there's this video I saw recently. This lady goes into different stores in the mall and says, do you guys have plus size clothing? And they say we go up to 2XL. Every single store pretty much she goes up to 2XL. And she can't wear 2XL. And I'm like,
which is super reasonable, by the way, for the places to only go up to 2X. If anything, I would even say like not even that much.
Yeah, we're talking like H&M, Aeropostale, like JCPenney. It was like big brand name stores, right? And they all went up to like 2XL. I think one of them said like I think it was Old Navy said some things we go up to 3XL, but everything is minimum 2XL, but some things are 3XL. And she ends up leaving all upset. And I'm like, 3XL is not plus size. You're morbidly obese. Like, this is a problem. That's not if no store carries your clothing, that's a problem.
2X's are for like people who are just tall, because people who are tall carry more weight. Like, that's literally what it was designed for.
Yeah, they're longer. Yeah, they're wider. They're long. Every aspect of every piece of clothing is bigger.
That's why
so
people crop things all the time when they're obese, because like you're buying something and it's gonna drape so far down because it's built for someone who's taller and you're just wide, a little toad.
Damn. Big toe looking motherfucker. But it's a problem. And I think that's kind of the direction we're seeing it go in, is that we're seeing it go in the opposite direction, where like early 2010s was like all veganism, vegetarian, all this shit, right? Like everybody going in that direction. But now it's going in the opposite direction, where like eating unhealthy and just being happy in your skin or whatever, it just is the norm, and it shouldn't be that way. So we'll see what happens. I think these people are they got to recognize it at some point, but that's a whole other conversation for another day. But at the end of the day, I think there are some unorthodox training methods, weird training splits and all of that. Really just do whatever works for you, but also avoid injuries. And that's why I'm a big person against CrossFit. Not interval training, not necessarily all the movements that they do, just simply just the potential for injuries.
Yeah.
So
all right, y'all. We'll be catching you guys next week then.
All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks for listening.
Peace.
See ya.